The following presentation contains spoilers. Deal with it. So, I've been playing Dirge of Cerberus, and as I played I started to analyze the game. I tried to get my grips on the gameplay and wrap my head around the story, and at first I thought it was okay. But near the end I started to change my mind. Somewhere in between the ridiculously boring deep ground area and Vincent transforming into this thing, I realized something. At first I was gonna say it's bad, but then I had a
revelation.
It's not bad. Dirge of Cerberus is just silly. Clunky controls, shitty attempts at epic music, over-the-top fighting scenes, and of course, the laughably bad voice acting.
LUCRECIA!
All of this makes for one interesting, clunky soup of silliness. Okay, let's talk about the story. It expands on the lore of the dark and somewhat interesting character of Vincent Valentine. He struggles with his dark past when suddenly failed Shinra experiments escape from a giant basement thing underneath Midgar called Deep Ground. The story mainly focuses on Vincent's past, which frankly isn't all that interesting as Final Fantasy VII might first let on. Basically, he's a failed experiment himself, and somehow he became the harbinger of chaos. And now he can transform into shit and fly around. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's basically all you need to know. Now, these deep ground folks and their leader Vice want to summon Omega and cleanse the world. Basically, they are bad people, so they need to be shot. And that's where you come in. You awkwardly finick about shooting deep ground soldiers and completing mundane objectives, save the child, find the missing files, stare intensely into the camera. The usual stuff. It's not terrible, but it just gets way too repetitive. Outside of a small sneaking section where you control Kate Sith, the entire game is just walking around and shooting things. Of course, the occasional turret section makes its appearance as well. The gameplay is just very boring, and it doesn't make the silliness of the story any easier to digest. And don't even get me started on the boss battles. Seriously, don't. Now what makes this game so silly is the fact that it's absolutely convinced that it's awesome. It has this serious, dark, gritty undertone of badassery, but it's just executed very poorly. New story elements get tossed in way too haphazardly, and the action goes from normal shooty shoot to holy shit, the world is exploding. It makes no sense no matter how much it tries to convince you that it does. Failed Shinra experiments wanting revenge? Okay, sure, I can buy that. But Hojo making a digital copy of himself, laying dormant in cyberspace for years and then taking over Weiss's body? No. Just no. It basically breaks the rules of the world it's set in. It's like having zombies in the upcoming Star Wars movie. It might seem sort of cool on paper, but there's no way you can pull that off and stay serious about it at the same time. The game just tries so much, but does so very little. And that to me is hilarious.
Ha ha!
Dirge of Cerberus isn't bad, it's just silly.